First thing on the agenda is approval minutes of October 15th and 24th.
I so move.
I'll second the 15th, but I'd like to make a clarification on that one. And that is, on the 15th, it's sort of in the first paragraph. It talks about the fiber optics of Eversource, and that, I like it, I think it should read that, I'm not even sure what it says, but what's happening is between North Canaan, Falls Village, through Cornwall to Torrington, in order to allow better and faster communication between Eversource and their substation facilities. This is not for general public utilization.
Okay, can I have that when you get done?
Sure.
This is what it, looks like, so that's what.
Well, I think it's a bit confusing in what it's saying.
Just that
here.
very first, that second paragraph, right?
Right, this one right here, where it says
right there.
Eversource will be installing 5G between these areas. First off, Canaan is always confused with Falls Village to begin with, and I think it talked about North Canaan, and that the work is for the fiber optics that are being installed are for Eversource's use, not for the general public.
Okay, so noted. Any other additions or corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next addition to the agenda, I have one, and that is vacancy in the highway department. So is there a second to add that to the agenda?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, communications. As this is election night, I think it's appropriate to not only welcome our selectman to be, Marina Kocheby, here to the board meeting, but also to recognize Richard Bramley for his years of service here on the Board of Selectmen. He has served, I believe, for 14 years, which we've had a lot of issues. A lot of things have happened over the last 14 years. A lot has been accomplished, and he's had a very significant part in those accomplishments. We've had literally hundreds of meetings just of this board in that time, and he certainly deserved to have some free time now, as well as attending many other town events as a selectman. And certainly he's gone way beyond just meetings as far as helping people out in town and going the extra mile, right up to this last week when he was involved in issues that people probably won't know about, but just helping people out and dealing with people's concerns. He's been a great asset to the board. I know he sometimes gets flack at his store in Cornwall Bridge, or he gets the early warning of issues that are on people's mind, and he certainly absorbs a lot of community input at that station and brings it back in a positive way to the board to hear what people's concerns are. He's been level-headed and a great source of support for the board and moving the town forward. So as a small gesture of my appreciation, I've got a little present, and also recognition that Richard has been a supporter of businesses in town, new businesses, and this is from one of the newer businesses in town, Jane Harold's Pottery. A little gift.
Take it out.
You can take it out, show it off. Again, it's Richard, I think, attended every meeting of the Economic Development Committee since it started. So here's a little jug that says Cornwall on it, made here in town by Jane Harold. And again, one of our efforts is to keep the creative juices in Cornwall flowing, and Richard has been supportive of that. And there's a little sample of what can happen in the small town when people are creative and are welcome to town, So, you're welcome. So,
You're very
thank
generous.
you.
You're very generous with your comments.
Well, they're all true, and also Maria Horn's here to say hello.
Also, thank you for your service, Richard. And to, on behalf of the state of Connecticut, to honor your exemplary service to Cornwall, and you're the model of somebody who dedicates their life to you know, their community and to civic life in general. And for that, I would like to present you this certificate from the state of Connecticut, which I will read to you. General Assembly presents this official citation introduced by Representative Maria Horn and Senator Craig Minor. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Richard Bramley in recognition of your 14 years of dedicated and loyal service as Selectman for the town of Cornwall. Your outstanding leadership and extraordinary vision have served as a model for others to emulate. The town of Cornwall is grateful for your tireless efforts in the development of our northwest corner. We extend our deepest appreciation to you and wish you many years of continued health and happiness in your future endeavors. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. Signed by Marty Looney, the President of the Senate, Joe Arasimowicz, the Speaker of the House, and Denise Merrill, the Secretary of State.
Wow.
There you go. You're here. Okay, there you go.
My pleasure. This is one of the best things I get to do,
Wow.
is to notice people who've done what you have done.
Something that you said just a couple days ago, I think in the same room. It's talking about Gordon and what learning things from him, and you just sort of having him as a guide, and I would have to concur with that. I think that's really true.
Yeah, we're both lucky.
Yes.
But it's your proclamation.
Yes, today, we're not here for Gordon.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Nice surprise.
Yeah.
Okay, so the meeting's adjourned? No, back to reality. Back to reality. So, anyways, those are communications. Any public comments?
Communication.
What?
Communication.
Okay.
Okay. I'd just like to read it. It's very short. This is from Gary Steinkohl, who's president of the Cornwall Association, to the Board of Selectmen. And he says, as Cornwallians, we are all proud of our town and our designation as the greenest town in Connecticut. The Cornwall Association has been investigating the idea of lighting the large natural tree within the Cornwall Bridge Triangle with holiday lights that are lit with solar panel energy. A preliminary review of the Guinness Book of World Records shows that this may qualify as a world record. We would like our town's support in this endeavor, which would, 1, reinforce Cornwall's leadership role as the greenest town in Connecticut. 2, highlight Cornwall Bridge as an economic center for the larger town in line with the POCOD. Give us the opportunity, number 3, give us the opportunity to host an annual event highlighting our greenness. We also hope to install a year-round sign in or near the tree identifying Cornwall, the greenest town in Connecticut, and or the Guinness Book of World Records largest solar energy lit holiday tree in the world, which would bring significant positive media attention for our town. This idea is in line with Cornwall's economic development activities and embedded motorist minds who pass the Cornwall Bridge Triangle, our pride in our town and our achievements. We ask our town leaders to support this idea and, as well, contribute funds to accomplish this in the amount of $6,500, which is our estimate for the cost of this project. Gary Steinkohl, President of the Cornwall Association.
Okay, thank you.
I like this idea.
Okay, it's good to get this. I think that presently the tree is scheduled to be lit this year. We went to the smaller tree for the time being, and I think that's probably what we have the ability to do this year, but we certainly can take this into consideration going forward. But we'd have to get, research where, what's the most practical way to go about it, as well as, transfer money and that kind of thing. So that would take some time, I think, at this point.
You don't think we could do it in time for Christmas?
You have to come up with the lights.
I mean, do the lighting? I can't hear you.
But again, this isn't even on our agenda at this
Oh,
point,
okay.
and we haven't seen this before, so we can only do things in sequence, but we can put it on our next meeting agenda.
Okay.
Could you put it on the agenda tonight, Gordon? Because we could tell you more about contacts and some of the support that we have for this. Could you discuss it tonight? Because if
Well-
you want to light it on the 29th,
But we can't make any discussions, we can hear more information, but we can't make any decisions tonight because we don't have a chance to research things, so.
well,
I mean, again, we'd like to have things
I mean, maybe
in advance, we can't.
Your
use-
questions could be answered if you had them.
Okay, is there a motion then to add this to the agenda?
I shall move.
So,
I'll
then,
second that then.
Thank you.
okay. So then,
Vote?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, any public comments? Civil War,
Gordon, I know you've had a lot of storm damage in town, but he did have my gardeners go over and remove the rest of the invasive species from under the big tree. And there's a pile of stuff there, so maybe someday when the crew is going past, they can pick it up.
okay.
Thank you.
Next, onto the agenda, we have Civil War Memorial, November 10th, 2019. We are set to go with that. And I've asked, and Sam Waterston has agreed to be part of to give an address, and there will be several other people speaking, and hopefully our state officials will be there also. It'll be quite an event. I think we've got quite a few people that are interested in Civil War history coming, and I think it's also important to take time out from our busy lives to think back on the people on this Veterans Day that have really sacrificed so much to give us the right to vote that we've all exercised today, and have made, in some cases, in this case there were 20 veterans from the Civil War from Cornwall who paid the ultimate sacrifice out of the 180 who served. So it's quite a record that sometimes people forget how we got the rights that we enjoy today. And I think it's also interesting if people have a chance to read the inscription on the Sedgwick Monument that is on the hallowed ground that we will be visiting on Sunday. And it said he gave his life for the Union. He did not give it for Cornwall. He did not give it for Connecticut. He gave it for the Union. The thought that we are the United States of America. We're not an individual. We are not, so I think enough said, but it will be a very special time, and I think there are people who spend a lot of time and effort to make this happen. So we look forward to having a good turnout at that very special event. And again, thanks to,
What time?
that's at 2 o'clock on Sunday, the 10th, at the Sedgwick Monument, which is on Route 43 in Hautboy Hill in Cornwall Hollow. And again, thanks to Spencer Malkow, who's now a freshman at Housatonic High School, who really spearheaded the campaign to make this happen. So, any other thoughts on that? We'll see you all there. Next we have Sustainable Connecticut Bronze Certification. We have heard that the state has acknowledged that Cornwall has checked enough boxes on its sustainability program to meet a bronze certification, which I believe, may be right, may be wrong, that that's the highest level a small town can get, or not? Bronze.
You can get a silver.
What?
You can get a silver, I think.
We can get a silver. So anyway, Kate Freigang, who has spearheaded this effort, is here tonight to discuss what this means with some ideas going forward.
I have a report that I prepared No, it's 2 pages. Did you print any out anymore? No. Okay. I will get you one. And I would be happy to provide this also to you. And as you know, for 2 years we've been living with a large chart of all the actions that was on a placard. And this is it. This is my workbook. And it is now on the Cornwall Conservation Commission website for anybody to look at, because it's so large and it's getting so extensive that I'm no longer going to make this into a billboard. But it's taken 2 years, and we have done extremely well. For the benefit of those who may be new to Sustainable CT, it is an initiative that, well, really it came out of the early energy task forces, but then those people decided that energy was not really the whole story of a sustainable and resilient towns, and that there should be other categories added to that other than just energy. So there are 10 categories now, which include, well, we'll go through them, you'll see what they include. And the state assembled professionals from all 169 towns to weigh in on what created a sustainable town, what created resiliency, and came up with these actions. And then there's now a Sustainability Institute at Eastern Connecticut University, which is facilitating these actions. And the big news, which I will get to at the end of this presentation, is that they even have a jump-starting funding system now that is very, very attractive. And just for your references, this is the entire program on a small sheet that I can give you. Okay, so let's go through the 10. To get the bronze, one had to complete an action in each of the 10 sections. And the interesting part about going through this program is that you do tend to see where your town is weak and where your town is strong, given this collective wisdom of the 169 towns. Anyway, so in our town, our economy is highlighted particularly by our farmers markets, and that has been the economic focus with weekly highlights emphasizing buying local, and we have a good list of farms and businesses that our Economic Development Commission publishes. But there are ways that are suggested in the actions, such as creating business-to-business support and forums about business that we could do more of, and that could possibly help our town. Let's see, what else did I write down here? Also, I put Sustainable CT also has guidelines for business development such that we could promote startups and also continued support of businesses. So these are ways, I'm going to get into also ways that Sustainable CT has added support for towns. There are also some funding opportunities under economic development. The second category is well-stewarded land and natural resources, and this section emphasizes education and protection management for natural resources. And in Cornwall, that's pretty much our strong suit, because we have so many good organizations that have a mandate to do that. And the highlights for us were our lower impact development and our education regarding invasive species. And as well as our collaboration between the Cornwall Conservation Trust, the Commission, HVA, those collaborations help make us stronger as well. So the third category is vibrant, creative, cultural ecosystems. And we already do this in many ways, but it's kind of buckshot, and there are ways that Sustainable CT suggests that we coalesce some of our efforts so that we can establish ourselves as having a strong cultural component to our town. For instance, they have a making program, which I'm going to recommend that we get involved in. And this is a series of supports to develop identity. For instance, if we wanted to develop the arts section of West Cornwall, how would we do that? Or if we want to develop the commercial section of Cornwall Bridge, how would we do that? Guidelines can help us bolster that kind of identity such that people understand where to go to for certain things. Planning is the fourth category, and in this our agricultural friendly practices were attractive and gave us points. Again, of course, when we get our POCD done next year, that will also give us points because we will have completed that. We couldn't really submit that as an action until it was completed. Let's see. I have some other suggestions there for planning, but I'm going to go on because I think that the POCD is going to start to indicate other actions that we take instead. In terms of transportation system, we have, of course, a lot of problems with this, but frankly, I think the program doesn't support small towns like and what we do for transportation. There are some other actions that are afoot that are more appropriate for small towns, and perhaps in the coming years we'll be able to apply some of those. It was our shared van with Goshen that got us that category, got us points in that category this time. Efficient physical infrastructure operations. This is something that we do regularly in terms of tracking energy use and developing and improving our buildings to make them more energy efficient. So, and using the energy portfolio manager that the EPA puts out to help see how we're doing. So we're pretty good on that category. Strategic and inclusive public services is the seventh section. The terrific work that the Cornwall Chronicle has been doing, and also, frankly, our terrific video exposure in this town has given us a lot of credit. So these are our high points. Within that public services category, there is an excellent program that DEEP puts out called SMART, which is something that our waste, our transfer station may want to look at and get assistance for managing recycling and things like that. Although we do pretty well, especially with our new building for larger items to swap out. Housing is our roadblock, and what we need to do is develop a needs assessment, which Sustainable CT has got some assistance for that, such that we can try to find some wiggle room in our dilemmas. And then 9 is the equitable community impact. That is, of course, generally something that's applied to an urban situation, but we were able to apply that action with our natural resources inventory of collecting different opinions from the different areas of Cornwall as to what they valued most in the natural resources, what were their favorite natural amenities, such that we could preserve them better, and that became very instructive in our suggestions for the POCD. So we found a way to develop an equitable component in our town, even though it's small, and our diversity is different than what they were implying. They're really kind of looking at racial diversity, and our diversity really has more to do with lifestyles and economics and other factors. And then our innovative action, which is the wild card, we have done work on our green burials, which was something we could submit, and also our newcomers' teas that the Cornwall Association presents was counted for points. One thing that I'd like to work on upcoming is possibly a scholarship program, because I've noticed working in the different organizations that these kids have to apply to 5 or 6 organizations, extensive applications for $250 to $700 a piece, and it's really, really a lot to ask kids when they're also applying for colleges and such. And I think the idea of having some sort of a collective scholarship fund, possibly managed by the foundation, where kids can apply to one fund and then have maybe a committee of all the other funds give them out. But I think that it would make their financial aid process a lot more efficient. And not only that, I think it would also give the town something to be very proud of, the idea that we are really behind our students all the way through college. We have this fund that we manage for our kids, and we kind of make our scholarships known rather than have them all sort of scattered out where people can hardly find them sometimes. Anyway, so that's that suggestion. Anyway, so that's where we are. I think that when the POCD comes out, I think there will be some mixing and matching within the commissions to decide on what would be next great steps. But on top of that, there is something else I really want to announce, because this is extremely exciting. As you know, this has been really laborious because it's also a work in progress, so there have been a lot of changes, and it's been quite frustrating to get into these things, find out that it's more for urban areas and the like. There's been a lot of growing pains with this program. So what they've done is they've gotten quite a bit of funding to create this Sustainable CT Community Match Fund. And do I have any more I can give you guys? What this is they have, you can apply for $25,000 matching, so in other words, your project can be up to $50,000, and it can be just about anything. They want you to look at the sustainability actions so that you're doing something in line with that. By the way, this was because I was saying to them constantly, look, this innovative action thing that you only have one at the end. Why don't you have an innovative action in each of your categories? Because you're really not listening to your towns and of what they need, and they have to customize in some way. So instead of doing that, what they did was this community match fund, which I think is kind of brilliant. And so what you're supposed to do is basically come up with a concrete idea and create a proposal, and they even have someone to help you focus your project. They have some assistance. It's not, but the other key thing about this is that it's first come, first serve. I think they have about $400,000 to work with right now this year, and and it's available to not only commissions or government-related entities, but also private organizations or individuals who want to come up with some sustainable actions. So that's the exciting news, that money is so accessible now for projects. And let's see, I think that's all I've got to say.
Okay.
Oh, except that, that we did, so I applied for it by August. In September, they told me I didn't have it because they were taking points away, but then they worked with me, and now I do have it. So, in fact, we're getting this award on December 3rd. It's a luncheon event at the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities over in Foxwoods is where it's going to be held, and I think anybody who wants to go can go who's associated with the project.
Do you know how many other towns have received this or are receiving this?
I don't have the
A
number
dozen?
off of my head.
20?
It's in my
50?
Oh no.
Are there dozens of towns doing this or single towns?
I
There's
think
about a half dozen
I would
of
say
Litchfield
there are
towns.
about 8 who have gotten the silver, who got the bronze last year, and who are new bronze winners this year.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't remember
Okay,
the exact
but
number, but I think it's about a dozen.
Okay, well anyway, thank you very much for getting us to this point, and we'll read all this stuff and think about next steps.
Well, what would really help me is to be able to be on the agendas of some of our committees and our commissions, so that, or even have meetings with those people so that we can look at the actions and see ways that we could customize it and fund it if they would like.
Right. Good. Okay.
And
Thank you.
congratulations for the
Right.
Bronze Award. That's significant.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for Cornwall.
Right.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda, Ryan Berry, transfer station attendant. We did have a shortage of people to work at the transfer station, and transfer station operator Ted Larson recommended Ryan Berry, whose father also happens to work at the transfer station, small town that it is. And so I did give him the okay to hire because we were without people last weekend. and Ted had to take a fire course. So I did call his references, they seem to check out, and he has passed his first day on the job without being overwhelmed or getting any complaints. So I would make a motion that we would hire Ryan Berry as a transfer station attendant, temporary. So this would not be a full thing, this is to fill in when the other two can't make it or have vacation or whatever. But again, it's just, will give us more flexibility to have a backup person
I'll
there.
second the motion. The other backup people we have, Ed's one of them. and
Yeah.
There's 2 or 3 other people that fit in sometimes.
Yeah,
when
but we need
possible.
more. Yeah.
Right, because they're busy also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does he have a
License.
Is he licensed?
No.
to-
They're hard to come by. But he's not licensed, so there'd have to be somebody else there on a regular basis.
Right, right.
And Will is trying to get his license, but the last time they had the course was during one of our windstorms and he couldn't get out to attend the course. So, but he is working on getting that. So, any other thoughts on Mr. Berry? So,
Ted likes him, I think that's a good recommendation.
good. All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, highway projects. We've completed the Cream Hill Road project is done except for the paving. And Lake Road, the culvert there is installed and pieces fit together well. The end walls have been poured and they hope to have it open in time for Sunday's
Good.
event in Cornwall Hollow. So they hope to have Lake Road open for traffic, if not paved, for the weekend. And then they'll put in the guardrail next week and seed everything down as much as possible. So both of those, again, worked out very well. Came in on time and on the proposed budget, which was what we wanted to do in a short period of time. And again, get them open for traffic before the weather sets in. Okay, so anyway, so thanks again to Roger Kane for helping that and our contractors. Number 5, West Cornwall Water Septic Study Group meeting has been rescheduled for November 19th at the Cornwall Town Hall, 5 p.m. Just thought I'd put that out there and make note of it. Any thoughts on that? Next, the vacancy, now that we've finished our highway projects, Jim Vannicky, the highway department foreman, feels we have time to advertise and hire someone to fill the position left open by the retirement of Bud Herbert. So we would like to get something in the papers, in the Chronicle, and probably do some interviews in early December to get that position filled. So he's going to we'll work on a job description that we can present at our next meeting. So we'll agree on that before December, and then hopefully advertise it and get some candidates to look at this. And again, it's a full-time position for the highway department. We're looking for someone that works hard and knows how to operate the equipment, and would also probably have to have a commercial driver's license so they can drive the big trucks and have some experience in truck driving. So
Probably, you're looking for approximately 30 days or 20
Yeah.
days, and having it as
something,
to get a pool of people to...
right, to interview for early December. So anyway, that's the highway vacancy. Next, we've added this letter about the tree. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think it'd be a great idea. It's a little, it's a lot to do. I think the issue in the past wasn't specifically the lights, it was putting them up and taking them down, and the size tree that it was.
Correct, and we,
May I address that?
but we'll talk and then we can talk. The history's been that we did replace what had been done, funded by the Cornwall Bridge Merchants for years, probably starting 10 years ago, something like that. We put up lights on the big tree.
At least 10 years.
Yeah, and powered them with a solar array that was volunteered by Jim Laporta, and it worked, and it was the biggest tree. The problem was that other places take them down, and what we used was outside lighting, but they deteriorated over the course of the summers, and so did have quite a bit of replacement work to be done. So the question then became of whether to do the smaller tree, and also we had people volunteer to string the trees. A lot of other towns, they take them down every year, which costs quite a bit to take them up and down and set them. And so we moved to the smaller tree, I think is where we last left it.
But it also was the volume of lights necessary is dramatically increased on a larger tree, logically, and the net need of solar panels and batteries is also increased for the amount of lighting. Not to say it can't be done,
Right.
I'm just saying that it's not as simple as it may sound. The smaller tree allows more lights, bright lights, and then there was a difference in which lights you get, whether you get sort of lit or brightly lit, maybe the wiring, there was
Heavy duty, it depends on the size of wiring,
right, there was
and-
wiring, there was
and
the
configuration of the lights
the
in,
brightness of the bulbs.
the configuration of the lights attached to the strands.
There were a lot of moving parts in trying to
Right.
figure out which ones to get, and that was part of the reason to go to the smaller tree. I mean, in the end, I'm all for the bigger tree, it's a great tree, it'd be great to do. I just don't know, with 3 weeks to go, whether it's possible to pull it off.
Right.
And then there's the issue of putting them up and then taking them down, because I think if we're gonna do a large tree, you gotta take them down, I would think.
We learned that much, yeah. And also there is a thing that you're putting a lot of plastic up in a tree and then it degrades, and you do have some, if you don't take them down, so.
Whereas the small tree is a lot easier to deal with damage, because you can almost do it by a ladder, almost, not really.
They were left on the small tree, Richard, all year, they're still.
I know, but the small tree is,
That's-
because it's smaller, doesn't swing as much.
I was just pointing
There's
out
not-
that they're still there.
We don't know whether they work, though. They're always still there, we just don't know whether they work until you plug them in. I think even last year there was damage that Jim had to work,
Right, during the season,
right?
yeah.
So if we could find out between now and the next selectmen's meeting, 2 weeks from now, if somebody could do this and what it would cost, then we could make a decision.
And whether you can get the material.
Mhm.
You still have to order them. You'd have to order hundreds of feet of lights.
Yeah, Joanne?
Or that's a call.
So,
These are all the questions that would be the moving parts.
right.
Who's,
And also, we don't have $6,500 sitting here in a checkbook. We have to get, there's no budget for the project, so we would have to get Board of Finance approval, take it out of contingency, that kind of thing, so. It's, yeah. So Joanne?
I can answer some of your questions if you'd like. The estimate of $6,500 includes 2 days, 3 men, 2 trucks, and all lights. I went to Peerless Tree Service simply because they're the ones who do or have done one in Sharon. That tree had to come down because of the work they're doing on their green, so they don't have that tree any longer. But they could do it in the time frame for the 29th at that price. And they would put up the lights and they would take down the lights. We have to store them at our garage or wherever. But that price that we get from them would include putting up and taking down, so that we wouldn't lose, the product the way we are now. The other thing is that, it's a really exciting opportunity, I think, to, use that beautiful tree that we have. And we can do it in this time frame. Yes, we have to act quickly, but there are a number, I know we, of course, have access to numerous funds in town that might be able to provide some of the money. The Cornwall Association has been promised by a donor who wishes at this time to remain anonymous to pay any expenditures beyond the $6,500 we're asking the Board of Selectmen for. So it would be a guaranteed price. And it's not, it's not something that would be, one time. We'd have something that would be forever on an ongoing basis. And I think it's really an exciting thing. I mean, I know a lot of kids really miss that we didn't have the event that we typically had last year. I just think it's a wonderful way, and it really fits with the postcard. If you want to make Cornwall Bridge part of the economic driver of the town, you've got to put something in Cornwall Bridge. And the Cornwall Association is willing to pursue the Guinness Book of Records designation during this coming year. So we could do it this year, but we could get the mileage out of it next year with a big media event proclaiming that activity. I mean, we know that there's money. You put $25,000 back with the Board of Finance when you had, when Will Berry came on at the transfer station because his wife works at Trinity. So there is money around, but I don't think you'd necessarily use that money. But there are lots of funds in town. You know them far better than anybody else. And I don't think the $6,500 is an outrageous number, but as I said, a donor is willing to pick up any expenses beyond that. But we would need to, give a commitment to whoever we hire. If there's someone else you'd rather hire, the Cornwall Association is not committed to anybody, but we are committed to somebody who's got equipment that's big enough to get to the top of that tree, which is sort of limiting. And Peerless has that. And Peerless has said that they can do it in time to have it lit. So we would really request your support for this.
There's also the issue of the solar panels. So then I think somebody has to...
Yeah, I think I'd like to talk to the people that have been involved with the process for the last 10 years before I really talk further.
You should talk to, I did,
So,
James LaPointe.
Yeah, but I'd like to talk to them myself. I think we've gone about as far.
Would you like to know what Katie's learned?
Sure.
Thank you.
But I think at this point, again, we do better if we know about things ahead of time, especially when you're asking for money.
Well, it would have been nice if last year we had known that there was a plan afoot. I mean, a lot of us were pretty shocked to see that the big tree wasn't even decorated last year. I mean, talk about being informed.
I think we've used a small tree. This would be the third year at least, possibly the fourth.
Anyway,
It's certainly 2 years we've used a small
Katie,
tree.
you have anything to say?
Only that I discussed all these ups and downs with James, and requested proposal with options. For instance, he said, well, I may need a second trailer to do it. And I said, all right, go ahead, tell me what the proposal would be with the second trailer, but then also give me the proposal if you only use one trailer, you know, that kind of thing. So he's working up numbers.
Okay, good.
And we are prepared to underwrite that work.
Mhm.
So all we're asking for is this amount of money, and anything beyond that. So if you talk to the porter and he says it's more money, we will underwrite that, guaranteed. So what I'm asking for, if you would consider a motion tonight for that money, so that we can go ahead and we'll go to anybody you want, however you want it done. But we would love to make this happen, and we think we can. We know we can make it happen.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Well, I'd like you to make it happen. I'd like us to make it happen. I'm not sure where the money comes from in town, but it seems to me that if we ask enough people,
I don't think it's the Board of Selectmen's position to act on requests that are presented to us that evening. If this was presented to the board last week, it's on the agenda. There's some idea as to what's going on, or it's an emergency.
Correct.
That's a different issue. An emergency is a different issue. But I'm just reluctant to start the process of approving expenditures that aren't in the budget that are presented as an add-on to the agenda. I don't think it's a good precedent to do. I just don't.
Okay, may I ask that you would have no objection if the Cornwall Association simply underwrites this?
If you want to underwrite the whole project,
No.
I have no problem with that, as it's not town property. The town has contributed to it in the past, but again, I think Richard is the voice of experience. We normally don't act on items that we have no preparation to research or do our due diligence on
I think
on
she said
things.
you have no objection if we just underwrite the whole thing.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay. So then, any public comments? All right, so our next thing is bill payment, which is even more exciting than our regular meeting. Thank you all for coming.
I don't know, this regular meeting was pretty exciting for
There
me.
you go. Yep.
yes.